Hi and welcome back. What you're looking at here is a living room that I mocked up today, just for the fun of this tutorial. It might not be the perfect living room as you might see it other places, however, this is just for the test purpose of this tutorial. If we look a little bit on the measurements here, the room is, as you see down here, my grid is 2 meters, so it's about a little over 6.5 meters in the length of the living room, and on the other angle here I have around 4 meters. So just to give you a little bit of information about the proportion of the rooms. I have put a camera up here close to the wall, and all I have here besides the room is that somewhere out here I have placed an area light that I plan to use as the sun in the room. So I'm now going to change to the camera view so you can see my view from inside the room. And if I take a quick render and take a test with here, it's gonna be like this. You see I have a very dark room, and you see I have in the background image placed an old image of a garden just to set up some background in the windows. But as you see, as it is now, there's not much light inside the room, so of course I'm going now to go to my light source, and I'm gonna turn up my sun here. Let's start putting it at 100. I want to tell that I in the scene here have just minimize this, go to render globals and go to general and render, and I have turned on shadows. I've turned on reflection and refraction because I have some glass in the scene as well, and I have put ray recursion limit to 5, and that's about it. I can close this panel and I can render again, and you will see now that I on the floor start to get some sunlight, but that's not quite doing it for me, as you see right now, and that's because the light don't reflect from the sun to the roof, to the floor, and then up to the roof and so on within the living room. So the light is not quite bouncing around inside the room, and that's because radiosity has not been turned on yet. So if I minimize this and I go to my render panel here and to render globals, I can hit global illumination. Now I'm just gonna turn on radiosity here, and for the moment now just let it rest at default, because we're gonna change these values in a minute. Now if I render again, you'll see here that stuff is beginning to happen. I'm getting some light bounces around in the room, and I've got some lights up here in the roof or the ceiling. I can flip back and forth here so you can see before and after. So now you might want to say there's not enough sun coming in through the windows, so I want to burst up the sun to make the room without the light within the room a lot more brighter. So I go here and I boost up my light, say 200, and I render again. And what you see now is that yes, I'm getting a little more light on the ceiling, however I'm getting a huge bright spot down here on the floor, and not really much anything else in the room. So it looks kinda weird. I can then go to my global illumination panel and start tweaking some stuff here. To begin with, as it is now, I only have one indirect bounce. The that means that when the lights come through the window and down on the floor, it can only reflect once up to the walls and the ceiling. It doesn't continue to reflect around in the room. So what I would like to do now is to rise this in the direct bounces to 3, so make the light possible to jump around in the room. And I can now render again. As you can see now, some stuff is starting to happen again in the room. But still, it looks rather weird, because it's not quite getting around in the room enough. Some would then say I could turn indirect bounces to 20 or something insane, but that's not necessary. That would only increase your render time insanely. So you can then try and rise the intensity for fun and say, why not do that? But that's not a good idea, and I'll show you why. As you see now, I'm getting a lot more light within the room. However, I'm already starting to get some wicked overburning here, and if I increase more, that's only going to get worse, and I'll gonna start to get light spills and stuff all over the scene. So that's not recommended. But we need to do another little trick to get this working. So I'll minimize this again, and I'll turn our radiosity down to 100 again, and then close this panel and close the sun. I'll probably lower this to about 130, and then I'm gonna create 2 more lights that I'm gonna put at the windows to kind of create a light portal. So I'm gonna hit lights here and say area lights, and I'm gonna call this windows. And then I'm gonna move up here, and I'm gonna rotate it 90 degrees and place it right outside my window. Now if I look from this angle, I'm gonna rise it up, and I'm gonna scale it so it's just a tad bigger than the window itself, like this. This window or light source, then I'm gonna to clone and then move in front of the next window also, like this. Now I'm gonna leave the light at 50 intensity, because that's gonna be rather enough for this scene. However, if you like, you can tweak it up or down as how you see fit. I'm gonna close this, and I'm gonna hit the render panel again, and we're gonna see that we're now having some really serious stuff happening in the scene, and it's starting to look good. Now there you go. As you see now, the scene seems much more naturally lit. If I run a little bit back here, you see it's rather dark, while here it looks a lot more soft, like natural lights. And due to I turned the sun down to 130, we are not having the overburning here at the edges. However, this is not quite enough as it is now. I could turn up the lights in the windows, but the way lightwave works when rendering the images is that you have like a range of colors, and mostly when you render you will get a lot of colors in the lower section, in the dark section, and you'll get some very distinct colors in the high sections if you boost up your light to try to lighten up the scene. But the mid-range is kind of dead, so a way to control this is to use the gamma control to give the scene some more living. So I'm gonna go to Windows and Image Processing, and I'm going down here to Add Image Filter, and I'm gonna choose Full Perception Gamma. Now 2.2 in my eyes is a little too high, depends on the scene. I'm gonna lower this to 1.8, like this, and I'm now gonna render yet another image, and that'll be about 26 seconds again. What you're looking at here is the image before the gamma is applied. That'll be applied as an image filter after the render. And it's just about done. And now the gamma is applied, and you see the light on the wall and on the ceiling is starting to look a lot more natural compared to this. But what you also see is that the floor is starting to look a little bit pale, and so is the surfaces here and on the amp here and around. And that's because you're adding gamma to the entire picture. That also going to have an effect on the texture maps. So what you can do here to solve this is that you can do some reversed gamma on the texture maps in your scene to kinda counter gamma what's going on when you add the gamma to the final render. You can do that by going into the image editor and then start here to click the images, go to the editing surface here, yellow panel, and then you can pull the gamma a little bit down to darken the image gamma before it's rendered. I'm gonna try here to say 0.8. I think I might gonna work. I'm gonna do that to all the images here. 0.8. Let's just copy and paste this. There, the floor, 0.8. That's not used in the scene anymore. This, 0.8. 0.8. 0.8. Now, you might wanna, depending on your textures and how much light you have in your scene, wanna change this to perhaps some lower gamma value or something like that. That's a little bit up to your taste in the image, how you want it to look in the final render. So it can be some tweaking, like there's no list of results to say you have to look like this or like this. It's all a matter of taste. Black leather, and we're about done. That's the background, I'm not gonna change that. Now I'm gonna render again, and you'll see in the first render here, before the gamma is applied, my floor and so on looks a lot darker to kinda readjust the colors. But it's going to be brightened up again due to the gamma add-on in the end of the render. Now here we go, 26 seconds of rendering, and as you see here, before and after, I have removed a lot of the paleness in the textures and in the image of the wall, and the floor looks a lot more natural. Now that's not only gonna do it. The image is about to look pretty realistic as it is right now in the lighting, but as you see, we have some spots around here and around here. Some of that is due to anti-aliasing, but some is also due to the range of samples we have. I can also see that my tables here is quite too bright compared to what I would like them to be, so I'm going to go into the image surface of my tables. That's this, and I'm going to darken this even further, and I'm going to my surface editor and I'm going to check my TV table and perhaps lower the gamma on those a bit like this and do a re-render. And we are gonna have to wait and see what's going on then. And gamma applied, and as you see now, my tables is not as lighting or as bright anymore. Starting to look better. Now there is also a matter of taste. How dark do you want your corners to be, and how dark do you want your mid walls to be? That is something you can adjust after the gamma using either Photoshop in the levels section, or you can use another filter here in lightwave. Say like if I take my image process panel again and I disable my full perception gamma and I instead add wave filter image. In here I go into color and I say gamma and I change that to 1.8 again, and I take my contrast and rise to 104. And I can say down here, you can see if I take the last render as preview, though I cannot do that right now it seems, I can then render a new image instead. It's not like 26 seconds and is going to be that long, so you can see the difference between. But some prefer using the filters inside lightwave, some prefer Photoshop or a similar application. That's up to you. And I'll have a sip of my coffee while we wait. That's it. And you can see now, if I flip back and forth, I have gotten the dark parts a little bit darker, so it doesn't look that pale, but I still got the nice lighting on the walls and the ceiling and so on. So that might want to be where I want to go regarding the light within the living room. So now I just need to add some quality to the render, and I'll do that by closing this panel and closing this panel, and then I'm gonna go into render globals and global illumination, and I'm gonna say I'll try raise my ray per evaluation to 200, and I'm gonna raise my secondary bounds to say 64, and to get the corners a little bit darker I'm gonna lower this to 2, and I'm gonna render again. And of course now, because I have raised my raise per evaluation to 200, it's gonna take a little longer than the 27 seconds to render again, but still 27 seconds on is not bad. But of course again, that depends on what kind of computer you're working on. But as you see now, the 20 seconds is already gone with the radiosity calculation. So time to sip in the coffee again. And cheers if you got some. And we're gonna see how this is going to look. And the bones and bones and bones. And now we're rendering. Now remember, this is a scene with both radiosity, reflection, shadows, and refraction also due to the glass table. So this is pretty neat. 1 minute and 28 seconds. And this is what we got now. I just flip back and forth here, and you can see the shadows here in the corner has got a lot cleaner before and after. You don't have as many spots around, and of course you could raise that a little more if you like. However, when you add some anti-aliasing, that's also gonna shine up the scene a bit. So right now I'm gonna going to my camera settings here. I'm gonna change anti-aliasing to say 3, and I'm gonna set adaptive sampling to 004 and oversampling to 1. And this might take a few minutes, so I think I'll pause the video while it's rendering, and then you can see the final result of that. So here goes. And I'll press the pause button a bit. Ding! And as you see now, the render is done. 3.5 minutes has passed. And let's look a little bit on the image here. As you see, it's a lot smooth now. There's not really any noise left in the image. And you have a nice daylight feeling when looking on the walls and the ceiling and so on. Now you could also have placed some wallpaper on the scene if you like, and experiment with different kinds of wallpaper. That's up to you, I guess, when you get to try this technique out. But there's a lot of ways to do some indoor lighting. However, this is just one example I think you can use to get some good benefits out of. And if you have some day, I would be happy to see some of your images. So I think that will end this tutorial for this time, and I'll be back with some more soon. So see you out there, and have a nice day.